Seelbach. I do model railroading. My inspiration started when I was a kid. My father, my grandfather, they both had model railroads. At my house, we always had one that went around the tree with, you know, little houses and cars and things that went along with the little city. And my grandfather has a very extensive railroad that takes up his basement. And from growing up to now, when I look back, I always thought that those things were very, very interesting. And I came to a certain point where I wanted to make one myself and keep the sort of tradition going. I started my first railroad project about 2 years ago. It was not a very traditional layout for a train setup. It was supposed to, the city took place in the bad part of town, like the town people don't really think about, especially when they're doing model railroading. It's usually very pleasant and pretty and nice, and I decided to do a city that was the part of the city that's across the tracks. And so it kind of involved some sketchy situations as far as the configurations of the people. A lot of graffiti. That was kind of like one of the main points of the thing was graffiti. Because every time I've seen a city, there's always trains running through with some sort of artwork on them. And that's kind of where I got the community involved. I just started seeing a lot of graffiti in the downtown area, and ended up meeting a lot of the kids that were doing it. I told them about my project and kind of got them excited about doing graffiti on a legal scale in my little town. And so I gave them all their own individual boxcars to graffiti and do it. Or it didn't have to be graffiti, it could be whatever, as long as it was artwork and kind of went along with the idea of the city. Here are some of the train cars that were entered into the show. I was very grateful that I did realize I needed help, because there's no way I could have got them done. Plus, part of the idea of having other people do them as well was I wanted them to be very unique and different from each other. So if I did them all, they'd all have the same kind of look and feel. So I think they all turned out very well. I was very happy about it. And they are very unique and different. I don't think I've ever been to a city and seen a lot of the same graffiti artists all on every single train. There's always something different to look at. This is one of the things I received after my first train show. I met a guy that worked for the St. Petersburg History Museum, and he saw how much I love trains, and he gave me this picture, which is a picture of the Orange Belt Railroad. And I have a passion for the history of St. Petersburg, so I was very excited about this. And from understanding the history of St. Pete, you know that people wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the railroad. Because after sort of the Civil War era, people started moving down to Florida. They started laying tracks, and one of the points that they chose was the Pinellas Peninsula. And this brought work to a lot of ex-slaves, the local pioneers that were here, and actually, in the end, it proved to be very useful, because by the 1930s there was a huge boom in tourism, and people were coming here for vacations, and they came by railroad. This is the Townsburg 75 fully running. This is the industrial city. We got a smaller sort of streetcar that runs through the city that's transporting the people around. And then we have a more modern sort of train engine that runs throughout the city that will be hauling the cargo.